Hey everybody, welcome to Become Your Own Favorite Chef. Today we're making one of my favorite side dishes, and it's a homemade green bean casserole. Now normally I think of holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas for green bean casserole because that's how I grew up. We never ate them unless it was a holiday or a big family gathering. And I always grew up on the canned condensed soup recipe, you know? The kind where you just kind of throw everything together and cook it out of one of those Campbell's recipes. And while I love that, I mean, I scarf that stuff down. I wanted to make something homemade because I knew, number one, it would taste better. Hello, too cocky, sorry. Number two, sorry, I was whining. Number two, it'd be healthier. There's so much sodium in those cream of mushroom soups and things that you make the traditional way. So I played with a few recipes, did a few experiments, and oh my goodness, I have the best green bean casserole ever. In fact, I've given this to some family members that have never liked green bean casserole and they love this. So, look how pretty that is. Let's get started. Okay, so first step, we are putting about 1/4 cup or 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil into the biggest pot you got. A big pan would be great. With the extra virgin olive oil, and I'm heating this on medium-high heat. I want this hot because we're going to sear these mushrooms and onions really quickly. With the extra virgin olive oil, I want to add 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. This will just give it a really good buttery, creamy flavor. But that olive oil will keep the butter from burning. Alright, once this melts and gets pretty warm, I'm going to add about 4 cups, you can do a little more, a little less, of baby Bella portobello mushrooms. And what I've done to these is I took a very damp paper towel and I just wiped all the dirt off of these. You don't want to just wash them in water because mushrooms are like sponges and they'll soak up all that, all the water there, and they'll get really, really soggy. I also have cut up very thinly to very tiny pieces of onion, half of a medium yellow onion. I don't like big chunks of onion because I want the flavor, but I don't want that oniony texture. I don't want to be biting down on onion, so I keep those small. What we're going to do is we're going to sear these off at a high heat so that they brown, but they don't overcook just yet. I think that looks hot enough. Let's go ahead and dump these in. Okay. We want to kind of let them sit for a couple minutes before stirring around too much. Again, I want these to brown on the outside and get really caramelized and delicious. While those are cooking, let's add some salt and pepper. These machines are pretty slow. I'm probably adding a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper at the most. All right. I'm going to let this cook for a few minutes until everything's brown, stirring occasionally. And when it's almost cooked well enough, I'm going to add some minced garlic. We don't want to add the minced garlic too early because it'll burn and turn pretty bitter. Alright, these have been going for only about 3 minutes. They're starting to brown, but not as brown as I would like just yet. And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, you should slice these baby portobello mushrooms. And I do like them thicker since these will be cooking up here for a while and then re-cooking in the oven. They tend to shrink and get really small. So this bigger piece will be the perfect size whenever we're actually eating our casserole. So once we are almost brown enough, we'll go for another couple minutes with our garlic. I'm going to add just a couple tablespoons. Now this is completely optional. 1, 2. You don't have to have garlic in this green bean casserole. Traditionally, there's no garlic anyway, but why not make it a little better? If you like garlic, add it. Alright, I want to continue stirring this for about 2 minutes. Alright, it's been 2 minutes. The garlic is browning. Everything's browning nicely. I'm going to go ahead and turn my heat down to medium heat. And now we're going to make a roux. This is what will make the casserole thick. Now again, we added 4 tablespoons extra virgin olive oil, 2 tablespoons butter. I'm going to go with about 4 tablespoons, not quite half and half, of flour. Now, roux is usually just as much flour as there is fat, but I'm going to go a little less. because we might thicken it up with cream later. Just maybe. Is that 3 or 4? I'm not sure what that was, so I'll put it in a half. If we need to add more later, we always can. All right. This is going to be stirred constantly until we cook off that flour flavor. This should only take a minute. All right, once you can't see any more of that white flour, you're probably pretty good. Next up, we're gonna add some chicken broth. Let me get my measuring cup real quick. Let's do 1.5 cups of broth. All right, we're gonna let this cook as we stir, or you can whisk in. You wanna make sure the flour, the roux, all the stuff gets incorporated into that liquid. And this liquid is what is going to make our casserole gravy. After it kind of simmers and thickens up for a few minutes, that's when we will add our frozen green beans. And also, make sure you get all the clumps out. Also, I like to add about 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. This will not make this spicy. It gives it just a little extra flavor. Nothing to be scared of. But feel free to add more if you do want it to have a spicy kick. Awesome. Okay, this all looks pretty well mixed. All we're gonna do now is let this cook down for, gosh, probably just another couple minutes. It's thickening up very nicely. Then we will add our green beans. All right, this has been simmering. You can see it's thick, it stays separated in the bottom of the pan. And I just gotta say, notice how there's a dark brown, amazing mushroom type of gravy going on here, not that white mushroom canned stuff. And it smells so good. I could eat it just like that. But we gotta make it a little healthy, gotta add some veggies. Some of you will think, why in the world are you using frozen green beans? I have my reasons. If you do use fresh green beans, blanch them first. That means put them in boiling water for just about a minute. Put them immediately into an ice bath so they stop cooking. And it'll be about the same texture as these. I like the French style cut green beans because they look fancier, but use traditional style if you want. This is a 12-ounce bag. Notice I had more than one. And this is really, you can do whatever you want with this. If you don't like 3 times as many green beans as there is mushrooms, this might be all the green beans you want. But I'm gonna add at least another 1/2 bag. You know what, let's go 2 full bags. That's the way I like it, all right? You're gonna get a mushroom in almost every bite, but there's tons of green beans, and that is going to make this gravy very, very thick. It'll make that casserole hold its own so it's not runny. And these thin green beans are pretty well softened already. However, no matter what green beans you use, cook this, probably put a lid on it, keep it on that medium heat, stir it occasionally until the beans are almost al dente. You want them to be a little too crunchy for your liking because we're going to cook these in the oven with the fried onion strings on the top for about 30-35 minutes, and that's going to soften everything up even more. So I'm going to have to try one of these, make sure that everything tastes right, make sure the texture's good. Okay, these Kroger brand French style beans, those are already pretty much the perfect texture. I just want to heat these through. It's very spicy. I think again, when we add the onion strings, that will calm down, but if you don't like heat or you don't want any kick at all, definitely just do 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper there. I like this, I think it's great. But the last thing that not only calms down all the flavors here, especially that cayenne, but also gives it a creamy decadence, is just adding a tiny, tiny bit of heavy whipping cream. If we were going to measure, let's try 1/4 cup. I don't want a lot. I still want this to be healthy-ish, but it's got to be decadent. Oh, yeah. Look at that. That looks awesome. Okay. I think we're good. Let me just taste some of this sauce, make sure it doesn't need any more salt or pepper. Actually, let me get a spoon. Fantastic. I do want a little more salt though. All right. Next, I will show you how to dish this out and how to top it with some fried onion strings, and then to the oven we go. Okay, I got my dishes together. You could obviously put this into a regular size, like 9x9 pan or dish, and serve family style for the holidays. But it's May and I'm just craving this for myself, and my husband likes it too, so I'm going to use these cute little dishes. That way I can have a little bit tonight. I can have the rest of it in my freezer for whenever the craving hits me again. So these are just cute little ramekins. Make sure when you're doing this, you've got a little bit of even distribution of mushrooms and green beans, and then that gravy. All right, well, I can dish out the rest later. Let me show you what to do. I do not fry my own onions. These are just store-bought. They're fine. All I'm going to do is put these along the top. Make sure your oven's preheated to 325. And even though these are going to be small dishes, these small dishes take no less time than a normal size dish would, a bigger one in the oven. So I love tons of crispy shoestring potatoes on the top, or not potatoes, crispy onion strings. And this is all you have. So what I'm going to do, this one I'll cook tonight, and I'll show you how good it is later. The rest of these, I'm not going to put the onion strings on top. I'm going to put lids on them. I'll freeze them. When I do want to cook them, I'll take them out, put the onion strings on top, stick them into the oven. This one will only need about 30 minutes in the oven since it's already pretty warm. But all you're looking for is it to start bubbling and the onions to be perfectly browned. So I'm going to get this baby in there. Alright guys, I cooked this about 30 minutes at 325. And then I let it sit out for, I think, 20 minutes almost. Y'all, this casserole is hot. And I'm afraid I'm still going to burn my tongue when I taste it. But I mean, look how beautiful that is. I did center this in the middle of the oven, not at the top. I'm afraid if you put it on the top rack, you'll burn your onions a little too soon. So let's go ahead and dig into this. Oh my gosh. Again, the timing depends on just whenever your onions are browned and you see a little bit of that gravy boiling around it. That's perfect. Okay, I'm going to dig into this. Oh my God. Okay, it's still very hot. The longer you leave this out, the thicker it will kind of congeal. And right now it looks a little thin because it's really hot. But I'm hungry. And I want to let you know how good this is. So hold on. Okay. Wow. I love it so much. That's so refreshing. It really does taste like something freshly made, because it was. And it still has a great, onion flavor from the onions we put in it and the onions on the top. It's got a better mushroom flavor though than the traditional Campbell's recipe, because there's real big old bites of mushroom in there. And the green beans though, they still have a little bit of an al dente crunch, which is perfect. It reminds you I'm actually eating real vegetables and I don't feel too guilty about it. Anyway, this is delicious. Please give it a try. It's an easy recipe, just almost as easy as buying the canned stuff, and you're gonna like this a lot better. Alright, y'all, thanks for watching so much. I really do hope you try this. Let me know how you like it, and I'll see you later.